Attention. Due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 63 of the Civil Gore podcast. I am your host, Tim.
And I am your very jet-lagged co-host, Brian.
And I feel, Brian, that this is one of the first real episodes we've had in a long time, because the last two episodes we didn't do a film because we've both been traveling so much. And we had like weird recording schedules and everything. So it's finally, I guess this is kind of a regular episode. We're still recording a lot later in the week than we normally do, but
and a lot later time-wise.
Yeah.
About an hour and a half late. But that's for a good reason, because I wanted to wanted to talk about Hereditary, and I was able to see it right before we record. So pushed us back our schedule just a bit tonight, but it'll actually work out because then we'll both be able to discuss it. Non-spoiler, of course.
Right, yeah. So let's get right into it with our first chop. Okay, so before we get to Hereditary, I had a couple other things on the rundown to talk about. First up, I finished a couple of horror podcasts. I'm actually in the middle of several of them right now that are kind of related because they're put on by the same people. Now, the two I'm going to talk about tonight are not by the same producers, but they kind of have a similar premises in that they sound like something that could come out of Channel Zero. They kind of have that creepypasta vibe to them. The first one was called The Last Movie. And this podcast is about an investigator investigating a fabled underground movie that supposedly drives the audience insane and causes everybody to murder each other or whatever when they see it. And there's supposedly underground showings and stuff. So the whole podcast series is about this investigator going around trying to track down to see this movie. So that's a really cool one. Check that one out. It's called The Last Movie.
Oh, so it's a story pie. It's like one of those.
It's a story, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's an audio drama, basically.
Oh, okay, nice.
And then the other one was called Limetown, and this one is about a small town in Tennessee where 300 people just mysteriously disappear.
They all went to Dollywood.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. But this one's actually really creepy when you start getting into the story. And these are very professional, slickly produced audio dramas. So if you're into that kind of thing, if you like podcasts, but you want to do something a little less non-fiction-y and kind of do some drama stuff, these are two really good ones to check out. That's The Last Movie and Limetown. Oh,
cool. Does the Golem appear anywhere in there? The Limehouse Golem
appear
in Limetown?
No. He's probably in the Limehouse in Limetown.
Yeah, I guess he's got to be there somewhere, right? He's got.
Yeah.
That's where he lives, right? I mean, in Limetown.
I didn't know the Golem was from Tennessee. I thought he was from England, but I don't know.
Well, I think that's why he has that raspy voice, because he doesn't want to. He wants to hide his accent, you know. It's like, bless your heart, my precious. Yeah, so
Oh my gosh! And then we had some really cool news. I'll let you take that one, Brian.
Yeah, it's funny. Tim's letting me take it, but this is the biggest Tim news.
Oh, I know. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Yeah.
But. So those collections from Universal that Tim and I absolutely love and collect, Creature from the Black Lagoon, which we all know is Tim's favorite, their legacy collection is coming out, along with the Invisible Man legacy. So, and it'll also probably include Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, right?
No, actually, the Invisible Man does include Abbott and Costello meet the Invisible Man.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Movie.
He had his own. That's right. Invisible Man had an Abbott and Costello.
And you know what I found interesting? I did not know that there was that many Invisible Man movies. There's like 5 or 6 of them.
Well, they disappeared.
Yeah. But the Creature from the Black Lagoon only got 3 movies.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's kind of disappointing that he never got more movies because he's the best.
Yes. Well, you know what though? Well, I say it like, let's look at it like we look at Holiday World, as we mentioned last time. They may not have the biggest collection of coasters, but all of them are the best.
That's right. Yeah, there you go. Because they're all good. All the Creature movies are good.
Yes. And that's coming right up, actually. August 28th. That's not too far away.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to just pre-order these because I've got to have these.
You know, we really need to put on. We really need to do just like a mega set somehow. I mean, almost in the style of Slaycation, but of all the Universal monster movies at some point. We just need to get into that.
Yeah.
And do a big deep dive into the whole series of them.
That would be fun.
Yeah, we maybe don't have to do everyone, but like the best of the best. Like maybe we'll pick like maybe we'll do like a month of them, like we do as a theme month or something.
You can do like the best out of each monster or something.
Yeah. Like each one get represented in a way. That'll be good. And then just to cap it off, we'll do Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
We'll just do 4 weeks of it.
Apparently, they want the world to see that. There you go. We'll just keep thinking of a different way. We'll do it with after watching Dracula, then after watching Frankenstein, after watching. Yeah, we'll just keep doing it that way.
We'll do one episode for every copy of that movie I own.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh my god!
So buckle up, people. Here it comes. Yeah.
Oh man. So I did not get to. Well, I actually do have to talk about this because I did not put it on the rundown. I did do something in the backlog project. I finished the last commentary on Black Christmas. Let me tell you, this is the most ridiculous, unnecessary, crazy commentary I've ever heard.
Did Bob Clark do it?
No. God, I wish. No, this is done by the guy that plays Billy. And he does it as Billy for the whole commentary. Oh
my god, that's going to be hilarious, though.
So he's basically talking about the movie, and he's like, Margot Kidder, Kidder, Margot Kidder. Like, the whole movie, he's just, like, commenting. Like, adding nothing to the actual value of how the movie was made or anything, because he's in character. And it sounds like he's snacking the whole time, so you get the annoying sounds of him eating into the microphone. I did it for completionist's sake. I did it for you guys. I suffered through it, but it is absolutely has to be one of the worst commentaries I've ever heard in my life. But
wow,
it's there for the completists. It is kind of funny. I will have to say it is kind of funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it sounds like it definitely has some kind of merit to it. It's gotta be. It must have entertained you at least a little bit.
Yeah, I had to be doing something else while I was listening to that one. So.
Oh, really? It wasn't that
it was pretty boring.
You know what should have been good? It should have been done. Bob Clark should have somehow channeled like Gene Shepard, like the guy that voices, Christmas Story, and done the commentary to Black Christmas, but in the Christmas Story style, with the, where he goes, "Hey, old soldier, are you?" The whole with that whole over the top like voice. That would be great.
That would be cool. Gene Shepard narrating Black Christmas. That would be awesome.
Right. If not, I think Jim. When did he pass away? A while ago, right?
Yeah.
If someone has a great Gene Shepard imitation, because God knows Tim and I probably could pull one off, but I don't think it would be as good as I would hope. But so if someone's out there or knows a Gene Shepard impersonator, send them our way, because we might have something here. That's a Kickstarter number 100 right on the button there.
This next one on the rundown, I almost want to save for a feature film because it was so good. And this was Alice, Sweet Alice from 1976, and it's famous for being Brooke Shields' first movie because she was like 10 years old in this one. She's not in it very long, but because she plays the sister that is murdered by Alice, who is her 12-year-old sister. Now, in the movie, I was watching this movie and I'm like, this girl's amazing. Like, that plays Alice because she's so creepy and she plays so above her years. And I did not find out until after I'd watched the movie and read the trivia that she was actually 19 when she played 12-year-old Alice. Which is why she comes off as so creepy, because you're thinking she's 12 years old when she's actually an adult. So that was kind of cool.
So and this is the prequel, obviously, to the TV show where then she became a waitress in a diner, right? And then Flo kept going, "Kiss my grits." Yeah, right.
I used to love Alice. That was an awesome
great.
Show.
Well, and the funny thing is, there was based on the movie Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, which I always used to get confused with Alice, Sweet Alice, which are completely different movies. They're not even close. But yeah, so that's
yeah.
So don't get confused there.
It's a terrific movie. I believe it's on Shudder. It may also be on Prime, but there's a real morbidly obese guy that plays like the creepy neighbor.
Is his name Mel? I'm sorry,
no,
I can't resist.
But he passed away like 2 years after this movie was made, so it kind of adds another layer of creepiness to the whole thing because he's not really an actor. I think he was like a creepy guy. That they just got to put in. They just found him. Yeah, and it's such a crazy movie. It's got a lot of twists to it. The only downside is the kill scenes were kind of weird. Like the editing was like way off on the kill scenes. I don't know what was up with that. I don't know if I was watching some kind of cut version or if
I was gonna say, did it look edited as if they edited?
Yeah,
for content?
I don't. But what's weird is this looked like the original print because it actually came up with the title screen Communion, which is what the original name of the movie was. So even in the film, you're seeing the original title screen. So I figured, this must be like the raw, uncut, original, blah blah blah. But the editing was way off. So I have to think there must be some better version out there, maybe.
Yeah, maybe you saw. Oh, it is on Prime, by the way. It is on Prime.
I may have seen the Prime version, and maybe the Shudder version's better. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there's also. Could it be that it's like you saw? There's like an international version versus an American version, possibly.
It could be.
Sometimes they tweak those.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon, like we said before, Amazon does not care what version or what quality they put on Prime.
They don't.
Put any piece of crap out there. I mean, especially case in point, EVILSPEAK, which we're doing tonight, that was shown in the wrong aspect ratio. The entire movie.
Yeah,
it was bad. But anyway,
I gotta buy the real version of that. I have I got a bootleg version on DVD. I think it was a Chiller a couple years ago or something. I own a version of it, but I still watch the one on Prime, and it was off. But you know what? You're getting it free. Yeah, well, you're not getting it free, I should say. But it's a bonus in terms of, I mean, remember when you were just literally paying Amazon Prime and all you got was the free shipping? So now you're getting music, you're getting movies, and you're getting a lot of stuff. You're getting a lot of movies.
Yeah, I'm still a Prime fan, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, oh yeah. No, I would, I mean, and they have some great stuff on there. So yeah, you gotta, you cut them some slack every now and then, I guess, with their like that one. Remember the one I told you, that Bigfoot thing I watched, where it was literally like an epileptic seizure waiting to happen. It was just these flashes, and I'm just like, oh my god, it's like, I can't watch this Bigfoot thing. It was like that. So yeah,
that leads right into my next one, which is my alphabet project. I'm doing 2 this week because I neglected to do one last week. I realized when I was editing the episode, I was like, crap, I forgot to mention my G, but this was G is for Ghostkeeper. The reason I chose this one is because I like the font they used for the cover. It's literally the only reason. It has such a cool font. It's a really cool cover. If you go look at it, just look for Ghostkeeper. It's got this really red and white lettered font. It reminds me of the old EC comics, and it's got this skeleton on the front. It looks really cool.
I think I've seen that, actually. Then now that you said that, it did look like those like Vault of Horror things, and okay.
Well, unfortunately, you can't judge a movie by its cover because this movie was pretty terrible. It's from, I believe it's from 1981, if I recall correctly, and it's about a group of kids that go up into an inn up in the mountains, and there's what's the stupid thing? The Wendigo legend.
Wendigo, okay.
I'll keep wanting to say Manitou. It's not the Manitou.
Yeah, Wendigo was that was in Black Sabbath, right? That was
So it kind of ties into that. And you got this creepy old woman that's keeping the inn and stuff, and so you get kids picked off. But the trivia states specifically that the director ran out of money halfway through this movie. And so they just stopped shooting the script, and they just made up the last half of the movie. So it's really really, it goes completely off the rails. It's just crazy. And not recommended. not my finest choice.
And you wrote here that it used the score from Prom Night, so it stole on top of all
it stole the score
other
from Prom
indiscretions?
Night. I don't know if it stole it or if it's the same guy scored both and he just copied his own work or what, but yeah, can't recommend Ghostkeeper, but the cover's
cool.
So
this is not a keeper.
Not a keeper, nope. But should we go through the rest of the news and then save Hereditary for last?
Yeah, let's save that for the last part of the first chop, and we'll go right before we go into the...
All right, I'll let you take the next couple of these.
Yeah, so the next one is some bad news, actually. Really frustrating. So as we know, we've discussed in the past, and this definitely may knock off our record streak of predictions corrected, as I predicted there was going to be a new Friday the 13th film announced by the summer. Well, according to this, that's probably not going to happen, along with some other collateral damage, basically. So Friday the 13th, the game, which was about to come out with the new Uber Jason and a bunch of new downloads and content, made an announcement that due to the lawsuit that's going on between Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham, and basically the distribution. I thought it was just distribution rights. It's a lot more than that. But basically, they now are not allowed to release any new content, which is kind of odd since they were doing it all along. But I guess, I don't know if it was they were doing it under the radar or whatnot, but yeah, the good thing is they're still going to support the game in terms of bug fixes, and they're going to still do that dedicated server thing because that had nothing to do with it, with the content issue. It just, you can't be anything apparently related to Jason or the counselors or anything that had to do with the actual IP, apparently. So I guess the game engine falls under the game engine, and it does, it could be anything, so I guess that's how that's being allowed to be slipped in. But that stinks, because I was actually looking forward to Uber Jason and that new map. Thank God, though, the single-player mode got snuck in right before all this, because I would have been extra infuriated with this.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pretend, even though I have several lawyers in the family, including my brother and my father, I could not understand what this case was, but thank God, and I retweeted this. Our good friend Larry Zerner, who everyone knows as the lovable Shelley from Friday the 13th Part 3, who is iconic in the series for supplying Jason with his mask, but he's also such a champion to his character and to the series. He also happens to be now a lawyer. So he gave like an 8-part Twitter thread describing this in legal but layman's terms at the same time. So it was so understandable basically what happened. And I think this spawned off of Victor Miller is actually getting a lot of blame and a lot of threats, which also caused the game company to post out that anyone that's caught doing such a thing will get banned from the servers and the boards and everything. So, and I got to tell you, this goes a little off topic from this. This is something that's been kind of bothering me as of late. And I mean, you heard about it with the Last Jedi, where now, with all the bashing of that, they were starting to say really horrible things and threats towards Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose Tico in Last Jedi, who I thought was fantastic in it. And she embraced the role. She was so excited for it. And she used to post great little pictures on Instagram and all this stuff. And it got so vile with some horrible, violent threats towards her, forcing her to leave social media. I think she still does Twitter, but she does no longer does Instagram. And to me, that's just disgusting. I mean, it's one thing you don't like the film, you don't like the character, but you know what? The person is out there, is trying their best and doing a job. Don't blame them for what you don't like. And I got to tell you, fandom has become, and the internet mix now has become so toxic. It almost kind of disgusts me sometimes. And Tim and I happen to be in the fandom of two very polarizing communities between movies and horror and roller coasters. And you see some of the ridiculous things you see. I mean, it was bad enough when people, you ruined my childhood, Kathleen Kennedy, get fired. Okay, that's just silly nonsense. But you sit there threatening someone's life. I mean, and now you hear these stories. You can't take that as just, he's just blowing off steam on the internet anymore. It's becoming, like, kind of frightening. And it's like, I know we do a horror podcast, but this is the kind of horror I don't want, I mean, and it just disgusts me. So, exactly. I know Civil Gore will never support anything like that. It's just horrible. And, I feel really bad for the people that do that. And it turns out that Larry Zerner actually pointed out that Victor Miller actually didn't do anything wrong. It looked like it was actually kind of like a mutual thing, and it was just a funny way the law is in terms of this whole thing. And I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna try and repeat it because I am not gonna do it justice, but I did tweet it out for everybody, and I actually thanked him. We thanked him, and he actually liked our tweet back. So go read that on our Twitter page, and he explains it perfectly. And thank God for people like him who embrace the fandom and is out there and is willing to help out the fans and stuff like that, because that was really good.
Yeah, that was a very helpful Twitter thread. So read that.
So we think Larry Zerner's awesome. He was already awesome, but now he moved to a new level. Level, yes. And in other awesome video game news and good video game news, I guess, they announced a Stranger Things video game, which is Tim and I. You already just might as well just take the money out of our wallet.
Yeah, take our money. But they did have a mobile game that I played for a little while. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, but I think this is the makers of the Walking Dead console game or something.
Okay.
So this is supposed to be like a legit game. It was supposed to come out last year to coincide with season 2, but it got delayed. So you can read about that. I shared that as well. So, not to go into all the details of it because I'm not familiar with the game that it's kind of mimicking. So, but yeah, it's supposed to be, what I understand, it's supposed to be a really fun game, though. So that's the way they described it. So
cool.
That's something to look forward to in there. Oh, and then I didn't put on the rundown, but what's that shark game, Maneater, that's coming out?
Yeah,
how good does that
cool.
look? Yeah, that's another one from the E3. If we would have had more time, I would have said we did a little E3 horror movie thing, but maybe we'll save that for next week. We'll do a little bit if we have more time.
Yeah, that's a good idea because
We'll
there are some
in.
hard things coming out of E3.
Yeah, so we'll go into a little more of that next week, and then maybe I'll get more into Stranger Things.
Cool, yeah.
Here's just a quick one because of our, obviously Tim and I are big fans of theme parks, as you know. When I was out in California, went to the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, which is one of those really old style, classic, vintage style boardwalks that I know Tim and Kevin absolutely love. I love those, and it's it's got the old carousel with the ring that you can pull out and try and throw it into the hole to win a ride, and they have a great classic old school wooden roller coaster and just some great attractions. But for the first time, I must thought I had been on this, but apparently I never did. But so obviously for the podcast, I thought Julie and I said, what, let's go on the haunted house attraction there, and it just looks like a regular. It's right on the boardwalk in one of the buildings. So I figured it was gonna be this tiny little thing. This was one of probably the best haunted house attractions of those little car attractions that I've ever been in.
Oh,
it was so surprising. Yeah. So, first of all, it must be the entire room you go in through the haunted house must be below the boardwalk. You can't tell that by seeing the building because it's all decked out and all this retro vibes. You can't even tell. So you go into this car. It's those little they kind of look similar to the little doom buggies of the Haunted Mansion, is 2 in each seat. You go in there, and as you're about to go towards the into the building, it spins around. So then you go down backwards, but you go down this spiral, almost like a spiraling staircase down backwards into this center, and it's just all the classic scares, but really decent animatronics for a beachside boardwalk and something that's not Disney and Universal. And it just had all the classic scares, but it was like a good length. I think it was like a good 6 to 8 minutes. And it just had a lot of great effects. It was really dark, really cool vibe, and you really got this isolation feel because you never saw any of the other cars. They spaced it out, which just stinks when you're waiting online because it makes the line go longer. Yeah. But when you're in the house, you get this sense of isolation as you're going through, and it's really, really cool. So anyone
awesome.
out?
I love those old haunted,
I'm telling you, Tim.
Houses.
You would love this one. This will be one of your favorite. And they always rave about the one at Knoebels. It's like that level of good.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. So, definitely check that out. Anyone in the Bay Area, go to the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk and you love haunted houses, that one you must check out.
Sweet. Well, as you guys know, you probably saw our video reactions to that new Halloween trailer. We both posted our initial impressions on Facebook, and I think we linked it on Twitter. Yes. I think they were too long for Instagram.
Yeah. Instagram only gives you, I think, a minute?
Yeah. So,
something.
Yeah, if you haven't seen those yet, go check them out. We had our first impressions of the trailer, and I guess we'll just repeat them here. I thought it was incredible. Most of the impressions I've seen from other people have been very, very positive for fans. Yeah. It does confirm what we all knew, that this does take place 40 years after the original film. It ignores the sequels. Michael has basically been imprisoned and locked up in his mental institution for 40 years, so he hasn't been going out and killing all these other people. He's just been patiently biding his time, and for some reason, we don't know why, he is being shown the mask, and I believe I read that there was a very good reason for them doing that in the movie. Yeah,
that's what I read. They either interviewers or they're doing a documentary. I've heard a couple different speculations on it, but either way, it's funny because just in the trailer you totally get the vibe of what this film is going to be. You have that feeling of the throwback to the original in so many ways, which that's really all we wanted, and I got to tell you, that's what they promised us. And that's all you heard. And if the movie is similar to the minute 45 seconds we saw, or 2 minutes, whatever it was, then we are in for a treat. Because Jamie Lee Curtis looks badass as Laurie Strode. the just the whole. The feeling of the town, it looks like it's got that same feeling that you could like it was plucked from a deleted scene out of 1978. It just, I don't know if they did something with, even when she was like doing that shooting thing, just the coloring. I don't know if they used a filter or they just captured the light perfect, but it didn't look like it was as modern. Like it didn't look like it was at this time period almost. It looked like it was a little bit older, which I like.
Yeah, I think they probably did that on purpose to try to evoke that same feel.
Oh yeah, and they got it, and there's some of them, I saw some other points. It's funny, like they said, Will Patton, who plays a sheriff in this, looked almost just like, kind of had that Charles Cyphers look to him, the original, and there was that scene when I guess Laurie's granddaughter's walking with her two friends, just like, Laurie Strode once walked. And, they have that scare where the little kid bumps into Michael Myers. I mean, it got a lot of the things that you loved about the first one packed into that trailer. Now, I do have some speculation that I can assume now everyone has seen this trailer, so it's not like I'm going to spoil anything. This is just my pure speculation. This is going off another thing. But I think that great scare at the end in the closet is a fake out. I think that's a total fake out because I don't think they would give that one away. I think it's going to lead to another similar, just like that they, in the original where Bob wore the fake ghost, and I think that's what you're getting there. Either way, that scene was awesome. That was cool. Yeah, it was great. Especially because the kid is in the room. So, and that's something that Halloween, even the first one kind of did, but the kids kind of were in danger, but they were also a lot of times, like, you could tell they weren't in danger. Like, he was going after specifically Laurie Strode. So, but that's, like, if I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I'm that kid. How the hell am I getting out of that room fast? Sorry. Like, as soon as that babysitter gets engaged into her death, I'm bolting out of that door, So.
Well, incidentally, this is kind of a weird coinky dink, but I had. Over the weekend, I had gotten invited to play some laser tag. Like, this is like upscale adult laser tag with like the military style weapons and
cool.
And you're going in through rooms and hallways and stuff, and you're playing capture the flag and things like that. And the guns even make like realistic gun sounds and stuff.
Oh, nice!
So it's really, really fun. But I got invited to play because one of Kevin's friends had his wife had reserved some slots and they didn't have enough people to fill it up. So Kevin asked me if I wanted to go along. So I went, and I ended up meeting one of his friends that actually had met David Gordon Green and Danny McBride at a party.
Really?
Before Halloween. This was, I don't know how many years ago this was, but we were kind of discussing the new Halloween trailer, and he said, I had no idea that they would be making a Halloween movie one day, but he said I met both of those guys, and he said they were really super nice and really down to earth. So hopefully the franchise is in good hands with those guys. I think it is, judging from the trailer.
Yeah, and if this is as good as this looks, I hope that it's not a one-off, a one and done. I hope they continue.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah,
because this looks like they could, especially because I'm gonna butcher her name, but Andy Michalak or whatever, the one that plays Laurie Strode's granddaughter, she looks like she's got that Laurie Strode vibe going, the way she's got that, like, she even got like an old, like a little retro outfit she's wearing, like that kind of something like Laurie Strode would have wore, I thought. And I don't know if you caught it, but I kind of thought that I saw this, but then it was confirmed by one of those videos where people said things you missed in the trailer, but most of them I did catch. But did you happen to catch the Silver Shamrock nod?
Yes, I saw that. I did not see it when I first watched the trailer, but I did see it pointed out in one of the articles.
Yeah, that to me was
cool.
great.
Yeah,
and obviously there were so many nods to the other films, like mostly obviously the original, but even part I guess what was it, part 4 with the gas station sequence, and there was just a lot of cool elements of that. But yeah, so I mean, I'm like glad I saw it and not glad, because now it's like, now that I have a taste. This is going to be a long, long wait. Good thing we have a lot going up to leading it up. A lot of fun stuff coming our way. So, but still, I cannot wait to see this movie.
Yeah, I'm so glad the trailer turned out good.
Yeah.
So, speaking of good movies, I finally got to see Hereditary last weekend, and going into it, I had seen maybe one trailer, and I had not read anything about it. I was determined to go in spoiler free, and we will keep this spoiler free, by the way. So don't worry if you're listening to this.
Yes.
This is just impressions. I was somewhat scared that it would not live up to the hype, because these movies usually do not live up to the hype. And but I went in with no expectations, and I was immediately enthralled with this movie. Even from the opening scenes, I could tell this was going to be something different. Yeah. And my impressions are basically that it's a very slow burn movie, but it's very deliberately paced. Every scene is designed to squeeze the most dread and anxiety out of you that it possibly can. Everything in this movie is geared towards making you feel uneasy. Yes. And it's sort of like The Witch in that respect, but I believe this is more mainstream friendly than The Witch was.
Yeah, I would say like this is The Witch is definitely an acquired taste.
Right.
Whereas this is just, this could be appreciated by anyone going to see a horror movie.
Right. But so here's my funny story. So I was completely immersed in this movie. Like, half an hour in, I was like in my own world, right? And a particular scene happened, and it wasn't, and I'm not trying to overhype you guys for this, so don't get overhyped, but it was not even a scene that was supposed to be particularly scary. Okay, it wasn't a jump scare, it wasn't some crazy thing popping out or anything like that, but the tension in the movie was so high that a certain something happened, and this guy, like a row below us, like screamed. And when he screamed, it made me scream. And I jumped and I went, like that, like loud enough. And I never, ever do that in a movie. And I can't even remember a time I've screamed out loud in a horror movie.
Did everyone laugh at you?
Yes, the entire theater erupted in laughter. I thought Olivia was going to die. She was crying, laughing so hard. She was doubled over. She was laughing so hard. The whole theater was laughing at me and the other guy, apparently.
They're all going to laugh at you.
Yeah, I felt so embarrassed because I have never screamed. And I'm like, here I am, the horror movie podcast guy. I'm I'm a professional.
As Tim is tucking his shirt away, that's his Civil Gore.
Oh my God, I felt so embarrassed. And then you know what? I started thinking about it. I was like, no, I'm not going to be embarrassed. Yeah. Applaud. Good job. Like, that movie scared the crap out of me. So good, hats off to it. It did what it's supposed to do. And, that's a testament to how tension-filled this movie is. Like, it completely sucked me into the point where I literally, and I never do this, but probably for the last, 20 minutes of that movie, I was kind of doing the old half shielding your eyes thing.
Oh my God.
I couldn't take it. Like I literally had kind of like a hand over my eyes because I was like, it was too much. It was too relentless. In fact, that's what somebody at work called it. They said that movie's just relentless. And I said, yeah, it really is. So, it totally lived up to the hype to me. I did have some criticisms. I'll save those for a time when we can discuss spoilers. I did have some slight criticisms, but overall, it was one of the best horror films I've seen in a long, long, long time.
Yeah, I felt the same way. It definitely has a slow burn, but it is deliberate, and it's obvious it's deliberate because. But yeah, I'm trying to word it without giving any away. It's just, I think it's there's moments that you're like totally like your jaw drops, but then it will be it could get you have nothing like that for maybe like 25 to 30 minutes, but you don't need it because it's building up again, and it's you're going to get paid off. And I like you did. I have a couple of criticisms, and it's one that a lot of movies seem to have as of late, but it's a minor one because I still enjoyed it. The only thing is that, and this has nothing to do with the movie. This is something that it's funny. My friend Paul almost had the same experience as I did. So he loved it. I loved it. Now I saw this by myself because Julie's away on a trip, and I wanted to try and catch it before the recording. So I just went right after work today. I thought I would be in a decent showing where there would not be some of the things that kind of annoy you when you watch a horror movie. And the theater was hardly packed, but it was everyone other than me in it seemed to not care about this movie, and it infuriated me. So while I was engrossed in the plot, I felt it a struggle too because of a little bit of certain moments, because I heard there was a group of idiot kids down the front row that kept hysterical laughing at everything for some reason.
That sucks.
Yeah, and it didn't matter. I mean, I finally toned them out. The guy next to me, though, 5 minutes in the movie, lets out a fart, and and then his wife goes, God. "Did you just fart?" And then the other people on my other side goes, "Someone over there farted."
Oh my God!
It's like 10 minutes into the movie, and I'm trying to concentrate. Now, I'm usually good. When I'm focused on a movie, I can tone that out. But it's still like it left it in there. So maybe that's why I was like always kind of maybe not as engrossed to the point where I may have gotten a little bit startled at some of the scenes that were great scenes that just I loved, but didn't startle me the way it might have if I was like in a total quiet theater watching it like you should have. But then the people to the left of me, I literally I've never done this in a movie, but I was as close to turning around and saying, "Will you guys shut up?" Because the woman literally, it was like, I don't know, like the person she was with, I don't know if he wasn't watching, but she felt the need to tell him everything that was going on. Like, and I'm going to give an example without giving a plot, an actual scene from the movie, but but it was like, he's getting in the car. Oh no, he's driving the car. It's like that's what it was.
Oh
almost
my God.
yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it was quiet. And then I think the guy ended up falling asleep because I heard him snoring like halfway through.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so
that sounds like a nightmare. That's like every bad experience I've ever had in one.
It really was. Movie. It was, and Paul said his theater was filled with people like laughing hysterically at everything. And there's a couple scenes where you might let out a nervous chuckle in this movie. Like every good horror movie has that. I mean, I wouldn't say a moment of levity, but kind of like a chuckle moment that you might laugh because you're nervous and you're tense.
Yeah.
This was not that kind of laughter, and it was infuriating to me. So I'll probably go see it again because I want Julie to see it, and I think I want to pick like a time that like a matinee or something in the morning.
Yeah, pick an off time. Well, I must have gotten really lucky because my audience seemed to they were like dead quiet through the whole movie until there was like a scare, and then you get like the nervous laughter or whatever. But for the most part, they were very well behaved. I did have a lady doing the old thing beside me, but other than that, like,
was that your friend from A Quiet Place?
Yeah. Other than that, though, like everybody was like very like engrossed in it. And even when I was coming out, like when I saw The Witch, the girl in front of us was like, "This is the worst movie I've ever seen in my life." Like, and everybody was like bad mouthing The Witch when we got out of it. This movie, like everybody was like, "Oh my God, that was so crazy! Oh my God, that was so freaking crazy!" So they were engrossed in it,
Yeah, no, and I was as much as I could. So it's like that's why I said it's my experience was not great, but not because of the movie. The movie was, I thought, phenomenal. It was well done. Now, granted, the whole is it the scariest movie you ever saw? I'll leave that up to you because I mean, to me, I feel jaded. It's very so. I always take those with a grain of salt, and those things are, I get it. It's a thing. But if you want, but the hype that how good it was, Tim is absolutely correct. It lived up to the hype for 100% in terms of that, because it had such a good, like, horror vibe to it through and through. And it was just, like, there were things that shocked me I didn't expect. At the moments of the movie or the plot points and twists, there was a lot of stuff I didn't expect, and I love when I go into that because I kind of went in like you. I saw that one trailer and that's it, and I didn't remember, like, one of the things I saw in the trailer I forgot about, and so it shocked me when I saw it, and I kind of totally forgot it was the same person in it, and so. Because, like, the actor looks different through that scene, so I wasn't even sure that was him through it, so I was, like, totally, like, blown away on some of the things. But, and I have to say the performances were phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, Toni Collette's awesome in this.
I mean, I don't want to overhype it, but she's Oscar-worthy in this one.
Yeah, I really hope she gets recognized for this because she deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, I know horror movies tend to don't get the nods always that they should, but at least don't hurt her if you're not a horror fan. But at least look at her performance in this. She is just brilliant, and she's got like some nice horror cred going now, and she's in some of my favorite horror movies. So I mean,
I will say this: I think this movie is probably going to be better appreciated by people that have some experience with older horror dramas like. 70s horror, like Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby, and those movies that are a lot slower paced. If you enjoy those type of movies and you've seen those type of movies and you know what to expect, I think you'll be more appreciative of this film than maybe somebody that grew up on 90s horror or 2000s horror where everything's PG-13 and everything's quick cuts and that kind of thing. And I think that's why it got a very low cinema score. I think it got a D+ cinema score.
But I think Rotten Tomatoes did good, didn't it?
Yeah, the critics loved it. I mean, critics loved the movie, but you're going to see kind of a lower mainstream audience score because I think a lot of people just aren't familiar with that type of horror anymore. Because it very much owes a debt to 70s horror. I saw a lot of it in here. In terms of the pacing and the shot selection and that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, and there really wasn't a lot of... it's funny, you mentioned it wasn't really a jump scare. There really weren't that many in it. But you always were on edge that you thought there was going to be one. They set you up to think there must... Like, I would have thought... I can't tell you how many... Like, I probably lost count on how many times I was preparing myself for a jump scare that didn't come, but yet the payoff was still incredible. It was like... Yeah,
that's why they still pay it off, so don't feel like, it's never paid off because it is.
Yeah, and don't, like, for those people who have, like, no patience, trust me, try and find it, because... Like Tim and I said, it is a slow burn, but it's a deliberate pacing that I would almost say the pacing is almost perfection the way they did it in it. Because it never takes you out of the movie. Like, You're
never looking at your watch and going,
No, I was going to say, I actually look at my watch during the movies, but mostly because I'm afraid, like, when I'm really enjoying a movie, I look more because I don't want it to end. So I want to, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I look to see how much more enjoyment I have coming. It sounds so silly, but that's what I do. I actually look more when I'm enjoying a movie because I kind of want to look to see, like, oh, good, there's a whole hour left. So it's like I'm the opposite. Usually when I'm super bored in a movie, I'll just fall asleep. I don't even bother to look at the watch. I just know I'm doomed, But no, this one I was like, I remember at one point I looked at my watch. I was like, oh yes, there's a whole hour of this left.
Yeah, so you guys are gonna like it, I'm sure, if you're a big horror fan.
Yeah,
so.
and don't listen. Please don't listen to critics because they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, I'm sorry, the fans, cinema scores and those fan scores, because you're getting. I'm just losing faith a lot in the internet on a lot of things. It's like, and so go definitely do not pass up a chance to see this. And I guess now be a little more strategic. I don't know, for your audience, for times you go, because you definitely don't want it with a bunch of obnoxious teens because they're gonna drive you crazy. I swear to God. Now, and I think that guy had some kind of stomach distress. The guy that farted too, because I heard who he's with asking him if he had to go to the bathroom or something midway through the movie.
Jeez,
so, yeah,
that's like the worst audience I've ever heard.
I was sandwiched between them. They were in my row. When I picked those row, because I went on Fandango this morning and I picked my seats, and they were dead center, the front row of the balcony section. There was no one around me, but then these two Yahoo couples decided, they had to be on either side of me and make noise throughout the whole thing. So,
jeez.
And the kids in front though someone yelled at them. It's funny. They yelled and they said they were like, knock it off at one point in the beginning of the movie. I think it was during the trailers. I'm like, oh good, where were you now during the middle of the movie when this other lady was repeating everything that went on?
I'm been going to the new theater, which is right up the street from our house, and it's very rarely crowded because a lot of people are over on the other side of town, but it's a really nice theater. It's just not very crowded. So even on a Friday or Saturday night, I've never been to a show that was sold out or even close to being sold out. So typically you get pretty good crowds there.
Yeah, I thought I had a shot to have a nice empty theater. I mean, think about it, 6:45 on a Wednesday night.
That's surprising.
I should have had the theater to myself, basically.
Yeah, you should have.
But, well, I'm going to go see it again anyway, I think, when Julie comes back, because I think she'll really like it. It just got a lot of cool...
I think it'll reward repeated viewings.
Oh, yeah, because I think it's one of those things you're going to want it, because there is a little stuff where you'd be like, well, wait a minute, did I miss something? I want to see that. So... Yeah,
I think you'll get more out of it on a second viewing.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And plus, it's just enjoyable, so I'd want to see it again for that sake, so...
All right, so we have a pretty short discmemberment this week. Let's get right to it.
Wait, no, please, God, no, don't cut off my...
Okay, so these are the Blu-ray releases for June 19th, 2018. The first one up is called Unsane from 2018, released by Universal Studios, directed by Steven Soderbergh.
Wow.
And starring Claire Foy of The Crown fame, which is a fantastic show. Joshua Leonard and Jay Farrow of all people.
That's a comedian, right?
Yeah.
He rivals Tim for his Denzel Washington.
Oh my god, yeah. I'm doing Jay Farrow doing Denzel Washington.
Yeah, just like we did. Who do we do? Originally, we did someone else. We did Daryl Hammond doing Richard Dreyfuss.
Exactly. There you go. So the synopsis is: a young woman is involuntarily committed to a mental institution where she is confronted by her greatest fear. But is it real or a product of her delusion? And it includes a featurette.
It almost seems like it's one of those thrillers too. It's like one of those borderline horror versus thriller kind of categories.
Yeah.
I get why it's in there. Oh yeah, no, and I get why it's just because Steven Soderbergh, technically his type of stuff. But I mean, it still sounds like an interesting plot to it. It's got a great title. I like that. Insane. I like when they play off a word like that. So.
The next one up is both of our pick of the week. Not that we had a lot of choice, but
yeah, we didn't. But this I feel it got released. I think it was probably not supposed to come out anytime soon. But since Tim and I did a fantastic review on it, and we dedicated a whole episode, it decided to come out. Yeah.
So this is, of course, the best Killer Rabbit movie ever made. This is Night of the Lepus.
Oh, look at a Shout Factory too.
Yeah, it's a Shout Factory release.
I'm gonna have to get this for sure.
Yeah, this one might have to go in the backlog. Be damned. So I'm have to go.
Well, you've worked. You deserve a couple of titles. I do deserve a couple. I dare anyone to say otherwise.
This one's from 1972. As we said, released by Shout Factory, directed by William F. Claxton, starring Stuart Whitman, the great Janet Leigh, and Rory Calhoun. And as you know, if you listened to our fantastic episode, which one was that? That was episode 52. So go back and listen to that one. Giant mutant rabbits terrorize the Southwest. And in Shout Factory tradition, we got a great pack disc. We've got a brand new remaster, 2 brand new audio commentaries. One is by author Lee Gambin, and the other is by pop culture historian Russell Dyball, which I'm sure
I bet you that one's really cool. Yeah.
It's got a trailer, a TV spot, or a radio spot, and a still gallery. But you're definitely going to want this one for those commentaries. I'm sure those are great.
Yeah.
So, last but not least,
I don't even know what this one is.
Maybe least. This one's called Alien Predators from 1985, another Shout Factory release, but this is kind of a bare bones disc.
Yeah.
Directed by Duran Sarafian, starring Dennis Christopher, Martin Hewitt, and Lynn Holly Johnson. Synopsis: 3 friends encounter a malevolent alien.
See, when I looked at this, I thought you left out the V in between Alien v Predators. I thought that's what this was.
No.
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait a minute, 85? What the heck is this thing?
This might be one of those, no, it's 1985, or otherwise I would say it's probably one of those, like, knockoffs, like Transmorphers, or to get you to rent it.
Yeah, like close enough that it looks like,
And no major theatrical releases this week. On the horror front.
But we saw one though, and we reviewed one, which is rare.
Right.
So we made up for it.
So we'll get right into our feature film this week. Was EVILSPEAK from 1981, directed by Eric Weston, starring Clint Howard, R.G. Armstrong, and Joe Cortez. An outcast military cadet taps into a way to summon demons and cast spells on his tormentors through his computer.
Now, Tim, I have seen this many a time. So I kind of want to hear. I want you to go on. I want you to go first, and give your impressions of it, so they're not swayed by me in any way. Because I've always said how much I like this film, but I want to see what you thought of it.
This was a weird movie. I don't know. Not having seen it multiple times, I don't know if I can give it a fair shake. I will say that going in, I was expecting more computer. Because I figured this would be one of those cheesy 80s, like, where the computer is like war games or anything. Like, the computer is like central to the whole plot, which it is in a way, but there's a lot of stuff happening outside of the computer element.
But when they did do the computer, though, they did have a lot of, for the time, cutting edge graphics.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I guess I was expecting it to be cheesier, which I guess is a credit to the film.
You expected Lawnmower Man, didn't you?
I did. That's what I was kind of thinking. I will say I loved Clint Howard in this movie. I thought he was great. I loved the whole... This was basically... My first impression was this is basically Carrie in a way. You've got a
yeah.
It's kind of a male version of Carrie. So you've got this guy that's basically an outcast. He's kind of bullied, and he finds a way to get back at his tormentors through, in this case, a demonic ritual, which is assisted by a computer. So I did like that aspect of it. I thought some of the stuff was just kind of batshit crazy, like the wild boars. I did not see that coming. So,
but it led to the boob scene, which was necessary apparently for this.
Yeah, which
movie, right?
Joshua happened to walk in on exactly when I was watching.
Oh no!
Piece. Yeah. So I'm sitting there. So this is kind of funny though. I'm sitting there watching it, and he was homesick, and so he was in there watching something on the other TV, and I did not expect him to come walking in because he was occupied watching his show. And I just happened to turn it on because I was trying to get it in because I had not watched it yet, and I needed to get it in before the podcast. I didn't think much about it. He's used to me watching movies, and he comes in and out, no big deal. And all of a sudden, I hear this little voice go, "Ew!" And I'm like, "What?" And I turn around and I look because I'm kind of half paying attention. I turn around and he's sitting there like covering his eyes, and I look back, and it was that shower scene.
Oh my god!
And I'm like, "Oh crap!" Father of the Year. So I quickly paused it and turned the TV off. And he was like, "That woman had no clothes on." And I'm like, "Yeah, she was taking a bath."
Did we hear Olivia scream from downstairs? Tim, what did you want to watch?
So anyway, but I don't know. I'm Father of the Year award for that one. But.
Well, and it's funny because she was like the classic like early 80s like sexy woman too. With she had that like. The outfit, she had those, the big lipstick on to make her lips look like voluptuous. It's like she had that like that classic style of the 80s. What a woman in those kind of movies would be desirable would look like. And and she had the big giant glasses on, and it was so funny. It was like she just, but at the same time you're like, oh, and like I think that's like she did like 2 other things too. That was like her only.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, because I looked through it,
which is kind of funny.
But overall, I really liked it. I really loved Clint Howard because I've always been a Clint Howard fan, and I think it's one of those that I'd probably like more the more I watched it. Well, because it was so crazy.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I think what endeared me to it is because one of the early movies when I that truly scared me to the point like where it stuck with me after, like I used to have like that ending sequence, and now I'm granted this is a little spoiler, when he's going through the church and kind of like floating through with the like the night with the things, and he's cutting people's head. Yeah. That scared the hell out of me when I was a kid. And I remember when I went up to my room after that. I watched it by myself on like a Friday night, and I remember I went up to my room, and I'm like, all I could picture is like I'm looking at the doorway, and I could just picture him floating by, and it was like giving me nightmares in the beginning. But the more I watched it, obviously I got more sensitized to it, but desensitized to it. But it was but at the time. When I first saw that freaked the hell out of me. And there's a lot. It's funny throughout the movie. It's not truly like frightening in any way. There's a lot of cheesiness to it. Like with that, like what was with that one teacher he had? Where he's like Cooper Smith, who looked like a villain out of Austin Powers.
Oh my
something.
God! Yeah, they had this movie has to have set a record for the times the name Cooper Smith has been uttered in a movie.
Oh my God, like, Cooper Smith or Cooper Dick, as they like. to call
it was like
him,
it was
his
always
mean
like
friends.
Cooper Smith, where are you going, Cooper Smith? Cooper Smith.
Yeah.
My God, they say Cooper Smith a lot in this movie.
Yeah, and then when it's not said, it's spelled on the back of his shirt. I mean, it's like, it's like, it's so funny. It's like, you will never get that. Even at the end, the last shot, for God's sake, says Cooper Smith in it.
Like,
which, by the way, I think I was like, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's right. I remember that now how this ended because I hadn't seen it in a while. And I'm like, they should have totally made a sequel to this thing. That's right. Right now, Clint Howard's ready. Bring him back.
Yes, that would be awesome. He's been trapped in the computer for 40 years.
Yes, and he could come back and we'll reprise everybody from the movie. Just like, and it's funny too when you said like, like it's like remind you of Carrie. If Ron Howard directed Carrie, Clint Howard would have been Carrie somehow.
Yeah,
because he puts him in everything.
Clint Howard. I mean, that dude.
He was great in this. I gotta tell you, he's good in this.
He really is. 200. He's got 246 IMDb credits.
Oh my God!
Like for him to be, and granted, he does a lot of cameos. He does a lot of
everything his brother does. He's in
he does little bit parts here and there. He does little character actor work, but still, that's pretty darn impressive. Like, I love Clint Howard. I remember seeing him in an episode of, oh my gosh, it was one of those anthology, Star Trek maybe. Was it Star Trek he was in as a kid? I mean, he's been working since he was a little.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, he's been. Yeah, he was. I think almost as long as Ron Howard was. They both started as
he was
kids.
Actually on Andy Griffith apparently as well. He played a little background character. So yeah, he's been in movies since he was a kid. That's impressive. That's an impressive career.
Yeah, and I know he's become a punchline to many people, but you know what? You can joke about him all you want, but you let's see, you get 246 IMDb credits.
Exactly. No, I love Clint Howard. I
do too.
Obviously, he's got an unusual look, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows that, but I love that about him. I love that he is an instantly recognizable character actor. He always gives 120% to everything he does.
Yeah.
Like I just love him. I think he's
awesome.
I mean,
he
was great. I love seeing him in a lead role in this movie. That's where I was. Yeah. I'm so used to not seeing him in a lead.
Right, he's always that that creepy guy or that weirdo friend or that background one-line cameo. But yeah, this was good that he was in this. And at the time when I saw this, I didn't know who Clint Howard was.
Right,
of course, I just knew he's Clint Howard. But speaking of that, kind of from cameo speaking, this movie is just flooded with like people there that like have gone on to other things, have been in other things that you're like, where did I see that from? Some bigger than others, of course. Obviously, you had you had Clint Howard. We all know what he was from. But you had Haywood Nelson, who played the one guy that was probably, well, him and the cook, I guess, were nice to Cooper Smith. And if you remember him from Dwayne from What's Happening, hey, I mean, Dwayne was the, so the fact that he was in this, I think that's what got me, actually, that's what made me watch this movie, because I think I watched it a few minutes in, and as soon as I saw him, I'm like, hey, look who that is, I didn't say, hey, I said, hey. But let me see, do you recognize some of the other people? I mean, you may have looked it up by now, but did you recognize Don Stark, who played the bully, Bubba, what he was in?
No, I did not.
He played Donna's father in that 70s show, where he got heavy and had the big afro.
Yeah. Oh man, I totally missed that.
Right, and then Charles Tyner, he played Colonel Kincaid. That I guess the headmaster of the school. Yeah. Did you recognize what he's from? Now, he's not in like a big thing, but you remember him from another '80s classic. Did you notice who he was?
Oh gosh, I'm looking at his picture now to refresh my memory.
It's one of your favorite movies. I know that. It's comedy. Definitely, it's one of your favorite movies. It's a very small role, but. It always crack up. My friend Mark and I always used to laugh.
You'll have to give it to me. I just can't place it.
So he played Gus in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Remember the guy who checks him in the hotel? He's like, "Damn, Griffith, how the hell are you?"
Yes. So, oh yeah, now I see it.
Yeah. So the guy totally looks the same. It's funny.
He does.
I don't think he changed a bit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's in it. And then did you catch Richard Mole, who he was in there from Night Court fame?
Yeah, Richard Mole. Yeah. Yeah, I knew.
Yeah, he was Father Esteban in the beginning. Yeah. So it's like, and he was almost unrecognizable, I gotta say, until you really look at him, because he obviously had hair. So,
right. Yeah, that was the big key.
Yeah, and I don't think he stood out as tall as he looks normally. I think just the way the film was shot, you didn't realize. I don't think his height, but. Yeah, so it just had a lot of people like that in there. Now, there was scenes that, it irked me all the time. Like, when they hurt the dog, I cannot stand when people do things to pets.
Yeah, when I saw that, Olivia will, she will get up and walk away from a movie if they hurt a dog or a cat or anything. And I don't care if the body count is 200 people.
Yep.
If they hurt one hair on a dog,
yeah, she's,
done with the movie.
And this one was just brutal what they did. There was no need for it. They were just being a-holes, and I mean, granted, you had to do something that was going to push Cooper Smith over the edge. I get it as the plot point, but I wish they would have found something else, because that dog, little Fred, was so cute, the dog.
Yeah.
So I did not like that they did that to the dog, but,
yeah, Alice, Sweet Alice has a has a scene that's borderline animal abuse, and I was like, yeah, Olivia would not like to watch this.
Yeah, I'm with you there. We definitely Civil Gore does not like pet things. Yeah, it's like kill as many people as you want.
Yeah.
So this movie ended up technically hitting the 3 Bs to some degree because there was a decent amount.
There were
of
some
body
good
count.
kills. There were some really good kills, like the one with the guy got his head twisted around backwards.
Oh yeah, and that's another one that freaked me out as a kid. Like that one used to freak me out because I was always afraid that could happen to me. My neck could twist around. And so that one freaked me out. Then, like I said, the ending. And it's funny, the only ones that didn't bother me were the boars one. Those just seem stupid, although that's pretty graphic when she got eaten up and you saw her, like, the boar pull out an intestine.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's just like, yeah, it was just, but overall, I mean, the movie itself it's always one of my favorites. It's just, I love that classic 80s horror like that. And that one was, at the time, it was like, when computers were really getting exciting for people our age.
Mm-hmm.
So, not that I ran out after this and say, you know what, I think I'm going to go talk to the devil. But I did, it was so cool because back then it was like, I think it's funny that he's like, I'll be right off there. They're kicking him off the computer, yet he somehow smuggles it down into the church basement.
Yeah, well, that was back when, like with war games where people thought, well, computers are going to be like taking over the world any minute now. And they're going to be sentient and blah 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 blah. So you always had all these. It was even that famous episode of the X-Files that had the crazy computer or AI or whatever.
And you know what's funny? Back then, people would always do this. It used to drive me crazy back then. Now I laugh because we can do that now because with Siri and Watson and Alexa, where they literally just type in the computer, "What do you do to say if you wanted to?" Talk to the devil, and you just type it in randomly on a prompt, and it gives you an answer. They didn't do that back then.
Yeah,
you had to do they didn't have internet really like that. They had that dial-up thing, and there was no message board. There was no information source.
It was like that Sasquatch movie where they fed in like all the variables of Bigfoot, and it like spits out a map of where.
Yeah,
or whatever. It was actually more unrealistic than what I just made that sound because that actually sounds plausible, but it was even more unrealistic than that.
Right. So that always used to laugh me, but I mean, overall, it's an enjoyable movie. I think and especially now that it's on Prime, I definitely recommend people check it out because it's a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, but as we said earlier, fair warning, they show it at the wrong aspect ratio, which almost drove me crazy. I cannot stand when they don't have the right aspect ratio. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's when they squish, the people look squished because it's not showing it widescreen.
Yeah, and Clint Howard didn't need to be squished.
That's the very untechnical explanation.
Yeah.
The guy from work that I work with that knows every aspect ratio and exactly the measurements and everything would probably be screaming at the podcast right now for me dumbing it down that much. But
excuse me.
But yeah, the characters are squished.
Yeah.
And some people it doesn't bother them. They sit there like Olivia. She has no clue that there's anything wrong, and I'm like, can't you tell that people are squished?
Yeah, it bothers me normally. It didn't bother me as much this time because I think I've seen the movie so many times, so it was more watching it just as a refresher.
Yeah.
So it's like I think it would have irked me if this was the first time I'm seeing it, and I would have been like, oh.
Yeah. That's kind of
I kind of went into it just expecting it like, okay, good, it's free, I have it, and it's probably better quality than my bootleg burned copy I got from Chiller or whatever.
All right, well, let's see what our beer pairing is for this week. What do you got?
So I got one, and this one fits perfectly with this movie. It's called Black Mass by Abigail from Sheffield, UK. And I think Sheffield is where the home of our good friend Matt from Yorkshire's hockey team is, the Sheffield Steelers. So, Matt, if you're listening, I apologize. I hope I got that right. I know he doesn't like the Panthers. That's because he goes and he says, bloody Panthers, when he sees people wear the jersey. And I witnessed it because I took him to a game. And funny enough, he had his Sheffield Steelers jersey on. And some people had his rival team in Madison Square Garden. Go figure.
Oh, my gosh.
That's funny. It was hilarious. He comes all the way here and he meets some the rivals. It was great. But he took a picture with him all because, Matt's like the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
So it was great. So anyway, this is a stout. And the description is what really sold me on it. It says regular. It's cask and it's a regular style, which I'm not sure what that means. I guess it's just a regular cask rather than I guess a Scotch or whiskey cask or something. But it says the beer was very deliberately brewed to have an alcohol content of 6.66.
Nice.
How great is that?
I love that.
It says it's a 5-point grist Maris Otter Pale Ale malt, malted wheat, chocolate malt, roast barley, and cereal. So that just sounds very interesting there. And it says, with a wickedly secret combination of hops, so we don't even know what's in there completely. It says, Black Mass has the flavor of dark fruits, bitter chocolate, and licorice with a bitter coffee, warm alcoholic finish, decadent, black as sin.
Well, that's an Olivia beer right there.
That really is an Olivia beer. Just hopefully she doesn't perform a Black Mass while drinking it. But yeah, and so Black Mass obviously is what they performed in the beginning of this movie, so that's kind of where I was looking. I looked at Satan. I actually found Santa Esteban, which I was going to go with. But I didn't like the beer. That beer style for it didn't seem to match the movie like this does. So
yeah, that's a great.
So I went the extra mile to get a better beer pairing for you guys.
So last week, well, not last week, but I guess we've been carrying this over for a couple of weeks now.
Yes.
Our 6 degrees of decapitation. We had asked you to connect Brad Dourif to Doug Bradley to Anthony Perkins, and Anthony Perkins to Tobin Bell.
And the trick was you had to go all to. You had to go 1 to 1 to 1 to 1.
You had to do it in order. This is kind of our summer slaycation decapitation. So Brad Dourif was, of course, in Child's Play 3 with Andrew Robinson. And Andrew Robinson was the connection to Doug Bradley via Hellraiser. Doug Bradley was in Book of Blood with Sophie Ward. And Sophie Ward was in A Demon in My View with Anthony Perkins. And finally, Anthony Perkins was in WUSA with Pat Hingle. And Pat Hingle was in The Quick and the Dead with Tobin Bell. So all of these were 2 apart.
Yeah, I did say, I was going to say, it doesn't go direct, of course. But you can go from Brad Dourif to Tobin Bell and hit everybody on the way, basically.
That's pretty cool.
Which was the key. Yeah, and of course, Pat Hingle is one of our favorites as Commissioner Gordon in the Michael Keaton Batmans.
I believe Kevin's met Pat Hingle, by the way, before he...
Yeah, you did say that, right. Yeah, he was one of my favorites, character actors.
So this week, we had Claude Earl Jones, who plays the coach. We're going to ask you to connect Claude Earl Jones to James Earl Jones. So,
again, my fabulous name play. I was going to do Clint Howard to Clint Eastwood, but it was easy too, and it was just like. Plus, now that we know Clint Howard,
credits, he's probably in a movie with Clint Eastwood.
I think he was. No, he wasn't actually. The funny thing is, it was 2 also. He was not. This might be the one person he wasn't in a movie with. But now, you know what? I think that's our Kickstarter 101. Let's get a movie together. EVILSPEAK 2, starring Clint Eastwood and Clint Howard.
Yes.
Clint Eastwood could play like the new colonel in the new military school.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
Well, listen, Cooper Smith. Okay, that was a terrible Clint Eastwood.
Cooper Smith.
Clint Eastwood. Anyway, you could do this one in 2 also. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So next week kicks off our Summer Slaycation with the Child's Play series. That's one of my favorites, so I'm looking forward to that. And we'll have a whole summer chock full of big horror icons for you.
Yes. Should be very fun. Yes, we'll have a good treat for you. And then followed by that, we have, I believe, Hellraiser comes after that, right? So that'll be the next...
I gotta get cracking on those.
I know, me too. It's like we have a lot of watching basically to do next.
Basically, and then we'll have following that we'll have the Psycho series with Norman Bates, and then finally we'll wrap things up with Saw. A big overview of the Saw franchise. So, sounds like fun. We got a whole summer packed for you guys as usual. Drop us a line on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, civilgorepodcast@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions for films to cover, or just want to leave us a review on iTunes or give us some feedback, please do so. We love interacting with you guys on our social media platforms.
Yes. So remember, before you go, look out for Cooper Smith.
Cooper Smith. Cooper Smith. Cooper Smith.
That's a candy man.